I'm so glad I got my twin sister to keep me straight here. Kathy and I actually did a past life crossing, and we're sisters in a past life. And so I had listened to it first, and I gave her the CD, and she says, well, what do you think? And I said, I'm sorry. I felt like I needed to start apologizing right away. So, but I was very happy to hear, I'm very happy to hear that she was the worship assistant today, because we have an opportunity to do this, and this is a great privilege for me to have this opportunity to share with you a perspective. And it's kind of like the perspective of the rain, right? Some think it's great, and some think it's kind of like, wow, I wish it was sunny. This is an honor, and today I wanted to speak with you about something that's near and dear to my heart. I have just spent 10 years studying and learning to be me. And I'm very happy that today the opening and music, all about authenticity and who am I? And I actually...
You're pushing the wrong button.
Pushing the wrong button. I'm going the wrong way. There we go. All right.
Not me.
Thanks, sister. I appreciate that. Yes. All right. This is going to be a holy meeting, I can tell. The thesis that I just turned in, and I will be receiving my Homo Divinicus certification, as well as becoming a Psi Counselor in ordination with 10 years of learning about me. And I also learned, as I was shadowing a chaplain and looking at some of the other chaplaincy certification, and even in some of the work that I have done, some of you knew I ran a webinar on living and loving beyond addiction, that some of our greatest challenges in life are that we become entrapped, attached, addicted. They're all saying the same thing. And within all that is finding me and learning to be with me and learning to self-regulate me. And I learned through my research in the study, and you kind of learn and relearn and then recognize what you learned when you start talking about it and when you start writing about it. And I recognized, and Cynthia said, what should be this month's topic? And I said, subject. And that's transcendence is the topic. And I'm focusing on service. And we've had a lot of evolution in this community of people that are serving at different levels. And I am very grateful for these individuals in stepping up to serve you. And there's an element and some nuances or subtleties, if you will, in service. And what does that really mean? And transcendence itself is defined as existence or experience beyond the normal. So when I speak to and talk about transcending, and when we teach at the School of Metaphysics, it's teaching people how to reach beyond the little self. We want to be and exist in the highest form of self, that divine self, that authentic self. And we kind of forget about what that is. What does that look like? This gathering in this community is part of what helps support us in reminding us what that is. And I recognized, and my mama always told me, God loves a cheerful giver. And she always told me too, I had 7 brothers and sisters. So there was a lot of people to help. Mom would always say, you gotta have your brother, you gotta have your sister, you gotta, and it starts with our family of origin, that concept of service. What I connected with in all the study and all of the activities and everything from the time I was a child, I was learning how to serve. That unity emerges as are we okay? Okay, I faded out there. Unity emerges as we serve one another. There's a subtlety in that. And that subtlety is that we need to keep in mind who we are and serve ourselves as well. Now we're warned that the ego could kind of take over that. And I am going up and down and up and down, and there we go. Up, I would sing a few bars. I made sure I turned it off before we started singing, so I think we're good. Everybody, are we okay now? They were holding the ears. However, I was about to say a very profound word, ego. Ego. It's kind of interesting that it went up when we say ego, because we're warned about serving the self, right? We're warned that we're going to let that ego get in the way, and then we're just going to go, well, we all know that dark place that some Christian communities talk about, Hades, and maybe Catholics will say limbo. And however, every dimension of spiritual belief says if we focus too much on ourselves, that's not a good thing. Well, in my studies, we need to focus on ourselves in that we came here to learn more about who we are as a divine being. And if we forget about that, we get in trouble. It's hard to be a cheerful giver if you don't understand why you're giving. And there's part of understanding that it says, when I serve, when I do this, I love doing this, and I do get things that could be considered egoic, because I've always lived in audience, okay? It's kind of a problem. However, what I understand and I receive and I appreciate is, as you give, so shall you receive. And if I get the direction right, that in the process of giving, that there is indeed a movement that we need to understand and connect with, that we can only give from what we have created in ourselves. We can only love as much as we love ourselves. And that within that whole movement of expanding our consciousness and awareness, which I believe is why we're here. Everybody in this room has a connection with spirit. Everybody in this room understands and desires to be whole and complete. And in order to create that, the first movement in each change in ourselves is acceptance. And beyond the acceptance, once we accept ourselves, that acceptance resides in the heart center. I chose to use a heart opening projection because that's the, did you know that the heart talks to the brain more than the brain talks to the heart? That there's a significant role that the heart center plays. And when we get upset or confused, we say, I really like to understand this. And a lot of people say, I feel it right here in the heart. And when we connect and we feel joined and united, we feel it right here in our heart. And that is a place where acceptance begins. When we accept ourselves, and people are heart-centered, heartfelt, I love the project that the children are engaged in, and the whole world is recognizing this. That when we are there, that's the place we give from. And we give, and we feel connected to ourselves, and it's easier to discern what it is to give. And I will tell you that service, it's giving and receiving with an attitude of service that aids in attuning to a greater sense of value and purpose, operating an attractor field for accelerated conditions and evolution. It's giving first. The piece that we forget is when we give, it's not an expectation. However, to close the process, for the clogged process to complete, you do receive in return. And that you do understand and that you are connected with why you are giving. And as a direction in giving and transcending the place that you are now, because once we accept where we are, what do we want to do? If we're conscious evolvers, we want to move to the next place. And that means an expansion of our awareness of who we are, because we engage and step into something new, and we purposely direct ourselves. And there's a very important element of that in how we direct ourselves. And how we direct ourselves is that we hold to an ideal in self. And that ideal of self, I will propose to you, and this is the participatory portion of the service. I'd like for you to bring out a piece of paper. There's some in the back of the seats if you don't have them. And I would propose to you that the ideal The highest ideal that we can hold for ourselves is to become a conscious of all being, to be that authentic self. What I'd like for you to do is to right now write down, what is that authentic ideal self that you want to be? What is that? The close sister to that, since we're talking to sisters, is the purpose that you're going to receive when you manifest that ideal self. Purpose is value. When you are that ideal self, when you accomplish that ideal in your life, what value do you get from that? And I'll challenge you to write next to that ideal or write under it, what is the value when you are that? And I will ask you this week to continue to pull that out at least once a day and look at that. If it shifts, fine, rewrite it. Because you know what? That ideal, if we're evolving, if we're taking that ideal, is going to move. Which means we are moving to a higher level. We are beginning to transcend where we were and move into where we desire to be. Every day's a new day, every moment's a new moment. Then we direct ourselves, we take action with that. And in that action, that's when the giving and receiving starts working. That's when the service starts working. First is, I got to know who I am, what and where I'm going, and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And for everyone that serves in any capacity, if you lose sight of why you're doing it, it makes it really hard. We get stuck. And it's a tough place to get stuck when we've committed to serving beyond ourselves. And at the same time, service is what opens the heart. When we get to another, I'm not saying serve yourself first and then serve your family and then serve. There is no real order in service. And the truth is we are multidimensional beings. Anybody got more than one thing going on in their life? Maybe a few things, too many going on yet? Grounding yourself in and having an attitude of service, not just for yourself, for others. When people go to their counselors, their therapists, now they're calling them coaches. Most counselors want to be a coach these days. Nothing wrong with that, because you know what? What we need are best friends. What we need is someone to talk to. What we need is what we have here, a community of like-minded people that says, this is what I want to be. And they look at it and say, okay, Mavis, that looks pretty good. I'll call you out when you're not that. We help each other. And with that, not only sharing what you want to be, but being willing to receive what others want to be and then step into aiding them to be that. Wow. That is the accelerator. That is the magic connection. Individuality is best fulfilled in unity. That connection happens when I say, wow, I'll pick on Kathy. I see some other people I can pick on, but I'll pick on Kathy. And I'll say, wow, Kathy, that's really cool. I'd really like to help you be that. And Kathy says, wow, Renee's really a sweet, nice person, even though in the past life she wasn't that good to me. You can talk to her at the break, what that's all about. However, she wants to help me, right? We got a handshake. We're starting to lock in. So the whole concept, I'm going to move through some of these are pieces of, what's going the wrong way? These are pieces of my thesis. And I want to share with you probably more pieces than you need to see. The core of what I want you to know and embrace is that ideal you and that purpose that really charges you up. And that purpose and that ideal may shift and shape as you serve others. It starts with first serving yourself, respecting yourself. And I love this picture. I found it, this guy with the what do you call it? The doctor. Is that the school? Yeah.
This,
You know, that you have to keep a close monitor on who you are, and that self-reflection is imperative. There is no failure except the failure to learn. There is no bad lesson except a lesson that you just keep repeating. It stinks when you repeat it, right? I hate repeating my lessons. And when I get it, there's nothing sweeter. When I've helped someone else, there's nothing sweeter. I have to love myself first. And in that, learning is a choice. And in that choice, I'm going to share with you again a few more details than what you possibly want to see. And I have my cheat sheet over here because God knows I can't see all. Oh, well, I guess I could look behind me. But I was told never turn your back to your audience. So that in the back is supposed to be intended for me, but it's too far away. That in that is self-acceptance is the first movement, sharing your ideal, and defining who am I? Because when I define that, I move from the heart, and I move into a greater self-awareness. And it's from this point of greater self-awareness that I'm building and strengthening the value that I'm going to get from being who I am. Maybe in this moment, maybe this week, maybe as a teacher, maybe. I've got to be connected to that. And when I'm connected to that, then I know why I'm here. These are the big questions that every spiritual community asks you to contemplate and propose that they can help you connect to. And we know that we're more than a physical body, right? We're souls. Everybody agree with that? We are more than this physical body, and so we want to behave and act as though we are divine beings. We are that ideal self. We want to be that. Because anybody ever heard act as though? Act as though it is so. And when you stump your toe, and hopefully it's just a stump of the toe, but sometimes it's worse, that when you don't accomplish what you want to accomplish, that you continue to love yourself, and that you direct yourself and you take activity that takes you to where you want to go. So we actually come into this world with something to give. We call that, in metaphysical terms, a dharma. Everybody heard of what a dharma is? Dharma is what you come into this world, skill, capacity. It has nothing to do with the physical things you do and everything to do with your personal presence. What you know, mine is tenacity. What's yours, Kathy? Intercession. They're in these big words, and you can actually get spiritual intuitives that can help you with what is that divine capacity, but you got a sense of it. People will tell you, gosh, Kathy, you're such a loving, kind, connecting person. You're really this what would you say, the facilitator of movement. That's what I see in Kathy. Now, Brian, on the other hand, well, we won't go. But at the heart, once we are connected with that, whatever it is, then we engage our brain. It starts with the heart first, and then we engage our brain, because we're all moving to transcendence, right? The next thing that we want to do, and again, this is not implying that it's linear, it is at the same time that I'm serving myself, that I'm also connecting and serving with others. Offering service to others gives us the opportunity to see the many reflections of ourselves. I teach. I love teaching. And as I teach, I see many me's. Kathy and I have had those defining moments of the many reflections of me. And some are wonderful, and I want to be that, and others are, wow, do I do that? I've met a few more Libras. I've had a few more Libras in my class. And Libras are loving, kind people, but boy, I tell you, they're pretty needy. I never thought I was really emotional. I declared myself unemotional, and I think that's because I was denying who I am. At the heart of it, it's learning to create harmony. And when I can learn to create harmony, now I'm looking at service and acceptance of another. Not just because they are, although that is part of it, but because they are me. I need to accept all the versions of me out there and learn to work and to live and to create with those others in my life. That once I have this expanded awareness, I can create the capacity to draw out And this is the value of a teacher. This is a value of service. How many of you led a project, big project? You've done something in your life that involves other people. Everybody's led a party at home with your family, right? Everybody's had a chance. We've all had that moment, right? And is there any tension in that? You know, we think we love our family, right? God forbid anybody talk about our family. But when those moments come that we are serving and working together, we learn a lot about ourselves and how we create harmony. Here's a quote, and I'm going to give you guys some inner secrets of the School of Metaphysics teaching. Are you excited? I can tell. Giving and receiving of energy requires reception and discernment of another's desires and needs. Followed by matching these talents and skills the self possesses, then the response is befitting the self's own needs and desires. The state of blending is the essence of service itself. Service is a means by which we realize connectedness. For humanity to move beyond what we know now, our thinking must evolve from eliminating what we do not want to using all that we have. Ending disease means allowing for the possibility in all that is. Dis-ease. They ain't no bad stuff, they ain't no bad day. Now I said ain't, just make sure y'all listening. You got it? All is good. Ending disharmony means giving freely. And this is the Mavis footnote on that quote. And knowing why you are doing it. Not expecting that somebody's going to give back to you, but knowing and believing and connecting to that value of giving at minimum opens up your heart and opens up all the resources of the universe. This morning I showed up and I thought, well, I hadn't quite harmonized with everybody for the message this morning. And you know what? I do my little heart centering before I talk, and everything that has happened up to this point in time has been in complete harmony with what I desire to offer to you as a message, and that authenticity, the message of stepping into the real you that's in the music, the message of connecting, and that caring about and giving to others as well as to the self quickens your soul growth. And it opens you up to receive the love that is in all of creation. It reaches its epitome in sacred service. Sacred service is serving the wholeness in yourself. And what is wholeness? Wholeness is that you that is connected and aligned with Mother Earth, with source energy, and drawing from all of that. Okay? To be whole is drawing from all of that. Service and the epitome of actions in sacred service allow us to transcend at a pace that far exceeds what humanity could ever do without. We are in a spiritual crisis in our country, in our world. And there is an expanded version and practice of service. So when you look at your ideal now, I want you to add to that ideal a statement of how shall I serve? Now, I don't like to get political when I have an opportunity to speak from a spiritual place. What I recognize this morning when some things have been happening in the past few weeks and things that disturbed me greatly is what I have to give is to show up the best me and to engage in a way that serves not only myself, my family, to serve my community. My desire for this community is that we learn how to connect and grow, and we're going to have some opportunities to talk about that because you're all reflections of me. This is all about the oneness that exists in all of us and how we see the many dimensions of me. And in order to do that, that realization that I personally have a desire to connect to more than just the instances of me that reside in this community. That there is and has been a movement in the self and in all beings across the world, and that is the desire to be a unique whole self and celebrate that, to celebrate that. And with that, that we accept everyone and everything in every moment. How many of us can do that? Yeah, I see a few hands kind of up. It's tough because we're human. But I said accept. That doesn't mean to buy into everyone and everything, especially when it's created a great deal of disharmony. And in order to do that, we need to align our mental, our highest concept of self, and become more aware and be in the present moment. What is happening right here, right now? And then to direct ourselves physically. I can't say that word. Oh, emotionally. Emotions is what we give out. It's also what we draw in. That's the way we connect to the world. Anybody connect with that? People know you by your emotions. If you're having a good day or a bad day. All right? And that we can direct ourselves in every activity, purposefully. And I challenge you to look at that ideal and that purpose that you wrote. Whenever you're confused, am I where I need to be right now? Go to the big one. Every day, every week, every month, there should be an evolving hierarchy of the ideal and purpose. However, the big one's always the best one to hold on to. And you're here because there is a big ideal and purpose that you hold, or you wouldn't be here. And with that, to then engage. Now, the rest of this I'm going to click through real quick because this gets into a lot of stuff of what are the actions and qualities of self and what are some of the tools that can allow me to do that. That when I'm honest and forgiving, I can serve my ideal and stay connected to it. When I'm present and in harmony, I can live my purpose. And when I have gratitude and use willpower, I can direct myself and I can imagine the highest things that I can achieve. And in all of this, when I'm willing to engage and even suffer with or suffer through what I didn't get right because I'm really not that evolved yet, but I'm okay with making mistakes. That was one of my first advice from the School of Metaphysics in one of the reports on my, my demeanor, I'll call it, is that I hate making mistakes. You don't live a very active life if you're not willing to step into. I learned that the same area in the mind where joy exists is also where fear exists. Creation was pretty interesting, right? It's right there next to each other. Anybody know what the yin-yang symbol is? We got to accept the yin with the yang and the yang with the yin. They are partners. They are sisters. And take that time to reflect and say, well, how did I do? When I'm able to do that, I am able to transcend. And there was a Christian phrase, to transcend what separates us. The us is every part of me and every quality of me The us is every one of you, and what's within you that may stimulate me, and vice versa, or is in harmony. And when we do that, that we really are becoming that real, authentic self. There's a gal, Caroline McHugh, that has a video. After the service, we've been asked, and we do have now a website, blog, that we can blog about the service. I'm going to put on that a video. Caroline McHugh, she's a Scottish woman, and she talks about authenticity, and it's very entertaining. And what does it mean to really be authentic? Because at the end of it all, Homo Divinus is what this paper was written for, my thesis. And there was a gentleman, Lorenzo Haggerty, that said the distinguishing trait of the new humans, and this was identified in the late 70s, that there is an evolution happening. Well, surprise, surprise, Lorenzo, it's been going on for a long time, right? Since the beginning of time. But what's happening now, and I believe that at the most fundamental level of our being, is recognizing how intimately everyone and everything is interconnected. We are connected. You are one of me. And as much as I don't like those reflections, there's a guy, I'm trying to remember what his name is, he did this seven mirrors of the seas, and he goes in sometimes painful detail of how people are reflecting back you. And in all of that, in the Bhagavad Gita, it says, those who use their mind and control your senses through the mind, using them for selfless service. Selfless means I always keep in mind, in that authentic me, the broad impact of what and how I create. That those experiences create understanding that leads to knowledge, and that those services, that through service, the needed experiences flow readily, and you attract exactly what you need. Uh-oh. In that moment when somebody really got you PO'd, there's a good chance you're getting exactly what you need. It's one of the premises in metaphysics, and Kathy and I have had some exactly what you need discussions. And sometimes I learned a lot. And I do this because I love to learn, and I love people. And I want that knowledge and wisdom that emerges. Because the Creator is present in every act of service and devotion to selfless work, you attain the supreme goal of life. Anybody want to be in light? I believe that heaven is at hand. Everybody heard that before? Heaven is at hand. It's here, it's now, it's in the presence of this space that we can create and be everything we ever desired to be. And every lesson is an opportunity to learn that. And when we do it together, it gets a lot easier. And that transcendence truly is the capacity to move to that higher state. Does happen when we serve one another. And when we pay attention to how that serving one another is also serving ourselves. Don't forget you. Because if you show up and you don't want to be there, you're not serving you, and you're not serving others. When you show up and you know and trust that you will receive exactly what you need, and sometimes it ain't exactly what you expected, the value is you have a divine friend right next to you. Look around. Look in this room. There are many, many versions of you that are willing to help you. And all you have to do is be willing to be open and share. And you can transcend all that limits you. This is a beautiful place. There ain't no bad thing to happen to you. It just feels that way. And with that, I will now read the next thing, which is